first question, we have a diagram, we have supply and demand in this market. What is the equilibrium price? Question number one. $9, right? So you find when they intersect, that happens at $9. That's the answer. That is A. The second one, if the government imposes a tax of $4.33 per unit on sellers in this market, how many units will be sold? So we know that the amount of the tax, right, it represents the difference between the price that buyers pay and the price that sellers receive. So basically the vertical difference between the demand and the supply curve should be 4.33, and we just need to find where that's the case, at what quantity does that happen. Right, so as we move out, this is basically tax increasing. We see here, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4 in a little bit, which is the 4.33, right? And this happens at quantity of 8. So if the government imposes a tax, the market shrinks, right? We have less quantity sold, and that's moving from 12 to 8. And so that will be answer B. The next one. All right, so the same situation. There's a 4.33 per unit tax on buyers in this market. What will be the tax incidence on buyers? When we talked about tax incidence, right? We said that who actually ends up paying the tax doesn't really matter, because at the end, both parties share the burden at a certain ratio, right? So whether it's imposed on sellers or on buyers, they still share the burden of the tax. So in this case, we need to find out what percentage, what amount of those $4.33 are paid by buyers, right? And if you, we already have the graph here. So basically what we can see is that buyers, after the tax, end up paying $9. End up paying $12, and what did they pay before? This is before the tax, just the equilibrium, no tax imposed, right? They paid 9. Now the price they end up paying is 12. So what's the amount of this 4.33 tax that buyers pay? $3, right? Another way to solve for this, or if you had been asked for the tax incidence on buyers or sellers without any specific number in mind, we said that to find the proportion of the tax that is paid by buyers, that will be the ratio of this distance, right, to the whole distance here. So we could have done it this way as well. This is what, 18 minus 9 divided by, well, this is basically the difference in the intercept. This is 18, this is 5. Right, so they end up paying 9/13 of the tax, and then you can multiply that by 4.33, and then you will find it's 3 again. Right? Am I right? I think so. Right. Okay. Right. Same picture. If the government imposes a price floor of $6 in this market, how will it affect the market? Okay. So we have a price floor. What does the price floor say? You cannot sell this product, right, for less than $6. Will that have any effect on our market? And if what? And if yes, what effect? What do you think? What was the equilibrium price in this market? $9, right? Now we have a price floor of 6, which means that we cannot, it says we cannot sell this product for less than $6. Sorry?
That's okay.
It's okay, right? It's not binding. Because it's the current equilibrium of $9 is still legal. There's nothing is going to really change in this market. Because the price floor is right here. And this is the equilibrium. So it's saying you cannot sell for less than 6, but you really don't want to, right? This market already has an equilibrium price that it's above the price floor. So there's really no effect because this is not a binding floor. Now, on the other hand, if this were a price ceiling of $6, right, then we would have a problem, right? Because then it would be illegal to sell at night. Correct? All right. So in this case, the answer would be D. In equilibrium, what is producer surplus in this market? Okay, so equilibrium, no government interventions. We know that producer surplus, that's the area above the supply curve but below the price. Okay. So basically, if this big triangle is total surplus, then below the demand curve above the price is consumer surplus, and below price above supply curve is producer surplus. And we're asked about this, correct? So we have a right triangle, then we just need to multiply the two sides and divide by 2. We know that this side is the quantity in equilibrium, which we can see is 12. And we know this side is well, the difference between the price in equilibrium and the intercept of the supply curve. This is 9, and this is 5. Right, so we need just to find the area of that triangle, and then producer surplus would be, well, 9 by 4 times 12 divided by 2, or 24 units. Agreed? That would be answer A. Okay, what is total surplus in this economy? Well, we said total surplus, this is the sum of consumer and producer surplus. So we can either find the area of this big triangle, or we can find consumer surplus. Since we already have producer, we can just add them together, and that will give us the total. So let's find consumer surplus. All right, we have, for this side is still the quantity in equilibrium, so that's still 12. And then we have that side, which is again the difference, the absolute value of the difference between price and equilibrium and the intercept of the demand curve. So what is this? 18, right? Minus 9 times 9. So it is 54. And then 78. So total surplus, which is the sum of producer surplus and consumer surplus, it is 78 units. Okay? That is B. Or that would be just 18 minus 5, 13 times 12 divided by 2. Right? Any questions so far? Okay. What is the equation for the demand curve in this figure? All right. So we know the equation of a line is always of the form y equals b plus mx. Right? In our case, y is the price. This is the demand curve. So the demand curve is going to be equal to the intercept plus the slope times quantity. Correct? What is the intercept of the demand curve? What would the intercept be? What would it be? 18, right? That's the intercept of the demand curve. What is the slope? Is the slope positive or negative? First question.
Negative.
Negative, right? Because the demand curve is down slope. So I'm going to have negative something times q. Looking at the answers, well, you can eliminate 2 of them, like B and D, because the intercept is wrong, right? We know it's 18. So now it's either A or C. And then we just need to figure out whether the slope is 4 over 3 or 3 over 4. And just pick any points, any 2 points on the demand curve are going to work. Find the rise over the run, and you're going to get the slope. Let's get this part, let's say, and this part. Okay, so this is my rise, this is my run, this is 9, and this is 12. So m, or my slope, is negative 9 over 12, or negative 3 over 4. So my my demand curve became 18 the intercept minus 3 over 4 times Q, and that will be C. Okay? And this figure becomes much more popular, so that each buyer in the market is willing to pay 4.33 more per unit than they had been when the figure was drawn. What is the new equilibrium quantity in this market? Okay, so now that the good becomes more popular, each buyer would be willing to pay more for it. What is that going to cause in our figure? What do we have to do?
Shift the demand curve.
Shift the demand curve. In which way? To the right, because the demand is increasing, right? So basically the demand curve, which represents the willingness to pay, right, is going to be increasing, and the vertical distance between the old and the new demand curves are going to be exactly 4.33, right? Because this is per unit, so at any quantity, the demand is going to be 4.33 higher than the original demand. So let's just draw it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 here somewhere, and find another. Where is it? 1, 2, 3, 4 here somewhere. So if I had drawn it better, they would intersect here, right? Because the vertical distance here is 4.33. So basically the intersection with the new demand curve and the supply curve, that's our new equilibrium quantity, and that would be 16 units. Right, first of all, you know that when there's a shift in the demand, when demand goes up, necessarily the quantity, the new equilibrium quantity is going to be higher, for sure, than the old one. The old one we know was 12. So basically, you didn't even need to solve this, right? You see 8, 10, and 12, and you know that it should be higher than 12, so pretty much D is the only possible answer.